Would somebody please tell this insufferable child? God.
What? Every damn one of them is being twisted and warped into something unrecognizable, reflected in the warped funhouse mirror of woke culture. CBS, BBC, Lucasfilm. Every single corporation feels entitled to lecture, to brainwash, to shame audiences into acquiescing to the vision of the world they're selling. And thus one of the key strategies to brainwash us all into accepting their worldview is to utterly dismantle all of our myths and slaughter all of our heroes, to demoralize and disorient us into believing in nothing.
Come on!
Just a glance at their big board tells you everything that you need to know that they have learned no lessons from the Disney sequel trilogy. None whatsoever. We have three categories here. We have fiction, we have Star Wars heart, and then we have Star Wars wishes. Let's go through these a moment, shall we? Authentically lived in. Well, that was in Star Wars from the start. That was one of the brilliant things that George Lucas did that really hadn't been done before in science fiction movies, which was to create a credible, lived-in universe filled with dirt and rust and dents and whatnot. That's one of the reasons why Star Wars was so successful, because it actually captured that sense that we were actually in a real place, that that galaxy far, far away actually existed and was a lot closer to us than we thought. Surprise! Well, hell, I think the Disney sequel trilogy had a lot of surprises in it. Mainly, I was surprised that they completely destroyed the original trilogy with it. I was plenty surprised. I was surprised that they would go ahead and treat longtime fans like dirt and toss us away, saying the Force is female, saying this movie wasn't made for us, blah, 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 blah. Endless surprises already abound in the Disney sequel trilogy. Oh, and here we come to the third entry, diversity. So, when you're going down this list, the third thing you think of is diversity. In fact, if you skip on over to the third column under Star Wars wishes, representation/diversity. It's that important that they not only had it, they want more representation and diversity. That is their agenda. Of course, they have some other good ideas, like having an actual ending. Well, can't argue with that. That would be nice. Feelings. They're interested in feelings. Well, isn't that special? Why didn't I have any feelings at all watching the Disney sequel trilogy, other than disgust and anger and dismay? Mythic. They want something mythic. Well, I tell you, there used to be a myth that Star Wars was unbeatable at the box office, that Star Wars could not fail. Well, you revealed that to be a myth. Space and lightsaber battles. Boy, I tell you again, if you have lightsaber battles like between Rey and Kylo Ren in Rise of Skywalker, where they're just banging sticks together, where there is actually no obvious attempt at winning. Nobody is actually trying to land fatal blows on the other. They're just banging sticks together while water splashes around them. That's it. That's the extent of their involvement. Maybe you should cut that as well.
Right, yes! That was absolutely tremendous. I thought I was good.
And so they mutilated Doctor Who's past to bring it more into accord with what they view as an acceptable origin for the Doctor. The Time Lords were founded by a woman. The first Doctor was a woman. The Doctor was initially murdered by a male. And the power of the Time Lords was cultural appropriation by a white woman stealing power from a little oppressed girl of color. Jeez. I thought Doctor Who was about an alien guy traveling the universe in a police call box, fighting weird aliens and eating jelly babies. But no, the Doctor's origins are dark and ugly and political, according to the BBC, and so they killed Doctor Who. And unfortunately, this is happening to every single one of our modern myths.
You are a sight to behold. Isn't she amazing?
The timeless child that Tecteun finds is a little black girl. Tecteun is a white woman. The entire basis of the Time Lord civilization, therefore, is cultural appropriation of an exploited person of color. Chibnall makes the point that the Time Lords are the elite, and therefore the civilization of the elite is misappropriated from an exploited person of color. Indeed, when the timeless child who will eventually become the Doctor falls off the cliff, she transforms from a black girl into an Asian girl. So regardless of the exploitation involved, it is entirely women who are responsible for the founding of the Time Lords. Not only was the Doctor originally a girl, but the creator of the Time Lords was as well. Take that, patriarchy! The only bad apple was, of course, the white woman, who repeatedly murders the poor child in order to exploit her labor and build her civilization on cultural misappropriation. But wait, there's even more agenda here. Where do men fit in?
Leave him, he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
To demolish our culture and leave us adrift, vulnerable and susceptible to anything they want to implant in our skulls. That's a key component of brainwashing. Strip the subject of everything they can cling to, empty their minds, then fill their brains with whatever propaganda they wish to promote, and the desperate subject will cling to it like a drowning man to a float. They are deconstructing our myths to provide us with new myths more in keeping with their warped values. Look at Star Wars. They killed Han Solo outright, but not before turning him into an incompetent bungler who forgot where he parked the Millennium Falcon for 20 years. Degrade and then dispatch. But Luke Skywalker, he was the main hero of Star Wars, the shining exemplar of the hero's journey. The saga was about his family, and he was the scion of the clan. It wasn't enough to just kill and debase Luke, no. Due to his prominence in the film and in our culture, they had to absolutely assassinate his character, turn him into a traitor and a coward, make him suck milk, toss his lightsaber, and overdose like a junkie on the Force after trying to murder his nephew and burn the sacred Jedi texts. This was done partly to elevate Rey and the new so-called characters in comparison, because the incompetent writing wasn't going to be enough to do it alone. But it was also meant to strip audiences, particularly male audiences, of their hero, to degrade their hero, and by extension, to degrade them. Because if Star Wars is a tool of oppression and patriarchy, then fans of Star Wars and loving Star Wars are guilty of endorsing oppression and patriarchy, and so they deserve what they get. So what damn difference does it make if Vader killed his original body, if his ghost then just happened to jump right into a clone body? So Palpatine is killed, but not killed. So what? How stupid do you think we are to take this rectal pacifier you've shoved up our collective asses as some kind of consolation? What effect does this actually have on anything? Palpatine gets chucked down the shaft and dies. His ghost emerges and says,
"Ah, phooey, I'll be back, you pathetic worms."
And his ghost jumps right into a waiting clone where it lives, schemes, plots, and builds an entire army over the next 30 years. How does this fix anything? Palpatine continues his bid for galactic domination. Vader's sacrifice still amounts to diddly squat. The Empire is not defeated, but merely placed in a temporary setback. And what of Rey? Rey still exists. Rey is still a Palpatine. All the Skywalker line is extinguished at the end of the saga, and everything Luke Skywalker had belongs to Rey by the end of the 9-film saga. It's sickening. So Palpatine, having temporarily died and then subsequently possessed a clone body, a body oddly cloned with all the damage Palpatine had suffered in his previous life, by the way, a plot point that makes zero sense. All of this is meaningless, and none of this fixes anything. What a lame-ass movie Rise of Skywalker is, if you have to purchase a book in order to understand what the hell is going on. I don't know if this is some kind of sick marketing trick to con gullible fans into double-dipping on a property in order to decode it, or if this is simply a way to fix the incompetence of the writers who stink so bad at their job, some other writer has to come along and fix it. But I do know that most fans no longer care. The wounds inflicted by Kathleen Kennedy to this franchise are deep and grievous. The simple fact of the matter is, the problem is not that Palpatine was an undead clone, but that Disney Star Wars is. There are those who dispute the existence of the soul. This life is all there is, they say. There is no spark of divinity within us all. There is only life, then death. But I would submit to those who doubt the existence of the soul that watching the Star Wars saga is at least potentially a demonstration that the soul exists. There is a light in people's eyes, a presence that is undeniable. If you've ever looked into a pair of dead eyes, you can see the absence of that presence. That's one of the reasons for the uncanny valley in CGI, the lifelessness of the eyes in the absence of a soul. So it is with Disney Star Wars. Watch the original Star Wars trilogy, then watch the Disney Star Wars trilogy. Isn't there something missing? Some might call it fun, some might call it narrative coherence, others might say it feels random and disjointed, some might say the lack is merely integrity. I would argue that Disney Star Wars is like an undead corpse, animated by the necromancy of financial investment, lurching around doing the bidding of its corporate masters.
You bore me. Leave. Go on.
Star Trek is perhaps the most liberal property out of all of these, with a long and glorious history of standing up for people of color, for civil rights, for equality, for universal respect for all beings. Nah, not woke enough. Because Captain Kirk, Picard, Archer, they're white males. That won't do. Janeway was a woman, sure, but a white woman. Not good enough. And Sisko, well, not black enough, I guess, because he liked baseball, which is as white bread and American as apple pie. No, Star Trek had to be revised out of existence, reconfigured, and all its fans shamed as being supportive of a franchise that is guilty of not being woke enough. So we got Mikey Spock, the bestest ever, to go with Ray, the bestest ever, and the female and therefore bestest ever Doctor. And it was Mikey Spock who shaped Spock, who was a defective emo dyslexic mess before Mikey Spock showed him how to be the bestest Vulcan ever by example, even though she was just a human. But she was a woman, check, of color, check, and the most insufferably smug and intolerably arrogant and traitorously insubordinate character ever on Star Trek. There is hardly a piece of Star Trek canon that emerged unscathed from this methodical and ruthless vivisection of Star Trek, and again its fans were punished for the unforgivable crime of being not woke enough. These TV shows were committing genocide, keeping women down, and wreaking social injustice all over the world. Or at least, that's what the scumbags running these companies seem to think. I suppose it could all be an accident that somehow our myths are being methodically destroyed and we are being methodically shamed, discarded, and abused as a whoopsie. So, sorry, it was all a misunderstanding. I guess that's possible. But is it likely? And what are we going to do about it? It's time to take a stand, people. It's time to act. Without respect, we reject. These corporations don't merely wish to silence me and other YouTubers who speak out. They want to silence you. In their arrogance, they think they can use their privilege, their platform, their shill sites to shame you into silence, to make you so fearful of being branded a racist, a sexist, a troll, a Russian tool, that you'll simply shut up and gobble down whatever swill they toss in your trough like a good little piggy. This is my message today. If you take nothing else away from this video, I want to make sure you never forget, we are the customers. We matter. The BBC, Lucasfilm, Viacom, CBS either work for us and provide us with entertainment we want, or we don't pay them. That's the bottom line. That's our one defense against this encroachment. That's the reason we are certain to win this war for hearts and minds. We are the customers and we don't owe